Hey out there, everybody. It's Jim Johnson, the head coach here at Contractor Coach Pro, and we've got a lot of people on this for you. We are super excited to hopefully help contractors kind of get some answers, maybe, I hope, for this whole coronavirus thing, and hopefully get some action plans, maybe alleviate a little fear, and work together as an industry to develop some action plans. And so I'm going to go through just real quick and introduce you to our panelists so you know who they are. You might want to write them down as we go through if you want to ask somebody specifically a question. You remember the chat tool is the way to ask questions. And somebody says Pate hasn't even got up yet. And so he's still in bed. So they're already interacting. That's great. If you do not have audio on your end or anything like that, that's on your end. You may want to log in from a computer or a different device or something like that. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to solve all those issues for you out there in this deal, but we are recording this. So we're going to probably rebroadcast this at some point. I'll probably give it to each one of these guys if they want to, and gals, if they want to rebroadcast. So I'm going to start with top left, at least in my view. And we've got Danny Kerr from Breakthrough Academy. Just kind of wave as I announce your name. Joseph Hughes from Contractor Dynamics. We got Jake Dempsey from Job Nimbus. We got Hunter Ballew from RoofCon. We've got John Wood from John Wood Law Firm. John Dye from Art of the Supplement, Balance Claims, and a bunch of other things that I probably don't even know about. And there's Priscilla. She is, I like her way better than John. We've got Bill Combs from No Time for Social. Ryan Groth from Sales Transformation Group. Michelle Melrose from White Rhino Creative. If everybody doesn't know this guy, Pate Smith from McClinney Mosley Associates, I got that right. I'm happy about that. Chris Houston from iRoofing. And then right on time, just like he always is, we've got Troy Clymer from Balance Claims. So we got one heck of a group here. None of these guys knew 24 hours ago they were going to be doing this. I kind of sprung on all of them, so I'm grateful and thankful and honored to have all of you here. And before I continue any further with any of this, I'm going to turn things over to John Wood because I feel strongly that this is something we should do before we get started. So John, take it away.
All right, thank you everyone. I just wanted to issue some disclaimers for the panel and for the protection of everyone listening in. This panel is for informational purposes only. Do not rely on this for medical advice or for legal advice. We recommend that you heed the advice of public health officials. If you need medical advice, please consult with a licensed medical professional. And if you need legal advice, please consult with an attorney licensed in your jurisdiction. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you, John. So now everybody knows that we are not professionals. We are here to help. And the thing that we want to help with, and just remember, panelists, please mute yourself if you're not talking because we're going to hear everything that happens in the background there. And if I don't see you mute, I'll just mute you. So if you can't be heard, you'll know that the reason why is because I muted you. Troy. There we go. I got him. So, oh, he's muted on his phone. Okay, cool. As we all know, this coronavirus thing, as I like to call it, is actually a threat. This is not something to be taken lightly. I'm not going to share, and nor do I feel I need to share any of what I have learned or any of that type of stuff. If any of you want to call me, email me, text me, and you want to talk to me privately about that, I certainly will. What we do know is that people are scared. People are scared of the unknown. And when people are scared of the unknown, they do crazy things like buy a whole bunch of toilet paper. It is beyond me, like why we are reacting the way that we are. And I think a lot of it just has to do with a lack of education. So we strongly encourage you to go out there and get that education. You can find it, it's out there. And there's a lot of really good stuff on it. It comes down to hygiene, be clean. Don't change your life stuff as far as if you're under the age of like 60, 65, just go do your thing. It's going to be a thing, and we're going to deal with it. I do want to say one public service announcement that's super important to me. This is my opinion. I am not a doctor, but stay away from anybody that's got gray hair. If you like, they are older folks. Yeah, Bill, you're out of it, man. No, I'm just kidding. This is not a good thing for people that are over 65, 70 years old, and it's our responsibility as the younger group in our country to take care of our elders. And so disengage from those type of social interactions for the next little bit until we learn more, and for as long as it's necessary. Knowing that there's fear out there, we know that they're scared. There's a couple of different ways to get past those two things. One is education. So we're going to hopefully do some of that today. And number two is to take action. We feel like when we take action, we're doing something, and the fear tends to go to the background. So I didn't have all the answers for this. I'm a long ways away from all those answers, but we have been working on a few of these things with our own clients for the last couple of weeks. And I felt a weight on my shoulders, really and truthfully, to share this. It's important to me that this industry not only survives, but thrives and does well. And this could be something that affects. I hope 30 days from now, we're all sitting here going, man, remember that Jim Johnson guy? Boy, he really blew that out of the water. And none of this was necessary. I really hope that that's the case. But if it's not, I'd rather be prepared. And a lot of this is stuff that we're going to present to you today and talk with you about today that we've all kind of known we want to start moving towards anyhow. And so let's get it out there and let's talk about how we might be able to help contractors get through all of this. So I'm going to say just a couple things. Roofs still leak and claims still have end dates. So those of you that are in retail, people are going to still have problems with their properties. Those of you that are in insurance work, people still got to get work done in a specific period of time because there are dates that are important. So we would be, for lack of a better term, despicable if we didn't hold up our responsibilities and get out there and get to work and do our thing. Now, with that said, let's be creative. We've got these great minds. There's, I don't know, 12, 13 plus me, whatever that is, 13 and a half great minds that, 14 and a half great minds that, and all of you guys as contractors, we're going to get on here today and we're going to share and we're going to give tips and tools. It's going to be hard to give a recipe, but we're going to walk through kind of each aspect of what you might be dealing with out there. And I'm going to try and talk and ask questions to our panelists here where I think they might come into play. Be a problem solver and have a belief mindset. If you are sitting there in fear, you feel the victim and not the victor, guess what? You will be. And so we have this opportunity to choose how we're going to address this. And I choose to believe that we are badasses and we're going to go do something about this and do it in a way that is responsible, ethical, and rightful to our industry and to people and humans in general. I actually believe this is an opportunity. I believe this is an opportunity to even sometimes make over our businesses in a way that we've kind of been thinking about doing for a while. And so I want to open up that conversation, and we're going to start off with the thing that's probably the thing that might be the biggest fear for contractors out there is, how do I get business? Like a lot of you are one-trick ponies. I go knock doors, I get leads, and now nobody's opening doors. And so now what, right? There's got to be, I would imagine, some fear out there. And so knowing that, are there innovative, creative ways that we can virtually simulate that same process? And so I want to kind of get that topic going at this point. And so and Joseph, I'm going to kind of talk with you a little bit here. Michelle, a little bit with you here. Bill, I think you three are probably the three. And then maybe even Hunter from a contractor's perspective. He still does contract, but he's also this roof con thing. That's why he's on here. And I know Ryan's had some conversations about this with some of his people as well. But this idea of now that it's in a virtual world, we're going to just talk marketing side right now. We're not going to talk at the table just yet. But I got to get people to open the door or respond to me. Any input there from you guys, like how you think these contractors might address some of that stuff?
I'll chime in.
Okay, cool, Bill, go ahead.
Uh, so I think looking at it's really hard to look at the positive to any of this right now, but from the standpoint of connecting with people, the positive is people are going to be sitting on Facebook, right? I mean, in Central Texas here, where I'm at, just a little bit north of you, and even probably down by you, Jim, they're extending spring break by a week. So, we now have 2 weeks of people potentially locking themselves down if that's what they choose to do. So you've got a large segment of America that's probably going to be spending a little more time online than they normally do. And that may extend out over months, who knows? So as you begin to look at the landscape, you really have to concentrate on who your audience is, where are they at, and how can you connect with them. And the 10,000-pound gorilla is Facebook, and I think utilizing Facebook and every available option within the Facebook platform digitally is something you probably should have already been doing, but this is sort of that kicker to say, okay, I haven't been looking at it forever, but do you have a Facebook ads account set up? Do you have a Facebook pixel on your website? Do you have the ability to run Facebook ads to target your community? That community outreach is going to be critical. When they go to your website, you pick them up with the pixel, you put them into an audience, and now you're able to remarket to them. So there's a vast process there that if you build it out correctly, you've got a lot of individuals in your community that you can connect with. And it could be something as simple as, if we just talk specifically, how do I reach my roofing customers, a downloadable PDF with great information about what they need, where you would normally hand that off when you're at the door. That PDF could be gated with a Facebook lead ad. Now you're capturing data. So I think getting to your audience geographically and then being able to utilize these audiences over a long period of time, just not only in the short term, but doing this now, I think is going to help you in kickstarting this digital presence. And then in the future, you sort of have this built in place so you can continue to use it over time. And I know, Joseph, you probably also had some information. Hunter, you're probably already doing this. So I'll leave it at that for right now and let these other three marketers jump in here, or three other individuals.
What a cool download for like a contractor, a PDF on how to work with a contractor during the coronavirus threat, right? Like, man, I might download
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
So, Joseph, Michelle, any insight there? Stuff you want to share? Joseph, go ahead. We'll get you. Well, actually, she's a lady. She's going to go first. I'm from Texas.
Of course, go ahead.
You got it, Michelle. Do it to it. Oh, we can't hear her. Hold on 1 second. I got her on mute. I'll take her off. Hold on. You're good to go now, Michelle.
All right. I think in this situation, it's going to be really crucial to meet people where they are in this, right? And what I mean by that is we're going to have to come up not only with virtual marketing that spawns through Facebook, but also we're going to, it might not be a bad idea to try to market to people in a way where we say, all right, let's do this virtual marketing. And not only are we going to do that, but how are we going to do it for something that you would normally door knock and leave behind? Why don't you give them options? We will, if you have access to drones, we will drone your roof, take pictures, show you the damage, then set up an appointment. We can do a FaceTime call while we're on the roof and I can show you the damage. We can take pictures, we can send them to you. Because when I say we need to meet people where they are, here's what I mean. I'm in my 40s, my husband's in his 30s, and we have 2 young kids, so we would be perfect right now. I live with my mother, who's almost 80 and has respiratory issues. So no, I'm not opening my door for anybody, right? So we need to get to a point where the digital marketing becomes second nature to people in general. Because while door knockers are great because you can actually integrate with people in the neighborhood and become part of their little community, finding ways to market to people without leaving your house is also important, because this isn't going to be the first time something like this happens, and having a digital footprint for how you approach people in general by sending them a video, telling them to go to your website to schedule an online appointment, that when that online appointment is scheduled, someone will show up on March 17th at 11 a.m., be on your roof, take the pictures, send you the pictures, and then the next steps are, right?
Yeah,
So people can get through this whole thing with never, ever a handshake or anything else. It's got to be a no-touch marketing presence for people.
Cool. So that's awesome. And we're kind of in line with that. I'm kind of letting the three of you go, and then I got a couple little things I might add. We'll see what Joseph has to say. Go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, excellent things that you, Bill and Michelle, you guys both shared. Awesome. I would say, like, to bring it to like to the immediate, like, what can you do? Look at your database. Like, look at your past clients, your past prospects, those referral partners, whether they're realtors or insurance agents, other businesses that you know through your network, B&I groups and things like that, and start to put together your database, because you can reach out to those people that have already given you money, that have already given you their time and attention, and you can let them know, here's what we're doing. One of our clients in Houston this morning issued a press release on Facebook, like, here's how we are, they're a roofing company, and here's how we're operating in light of the coronavirus, and here's how we can basically give you a full proposal without even like stepping foot inside your house. So letting your customers know that you're available to them. I know a lot of companies out there offer additional services. So maybe you do roofing. So maybe you did, 100 roofs 5 years ago, and your customers, those people don't know that you also do windows and siding and doors and maybe landscaping and fences, and some of you remodels and things like that. So people don't know all the things that you do. People don't even remember you because there's so much noise out there. So I would say number one is kind of low-hanging fruit is work with your database. You can send them emails. You can send them handwritten notes on websites like handwritten.com. That would be written, WRYTTEN, so handwritten.com. It's a great way to like automate the handwritten note thing for like a couple bucks a pop. You can use, you can text them using platforms like quicksend.com. Make sure that you're not cold texting them, because I don't think there's anything more annoying than a cold text. And then you can also upload a client list or a database, say an email list, into Facebook and create an audience of those people and serve those people ads. So it's a great way to stay in front of people without like, calling them or doing some manual work. So I think database is number one. And number two, I think what you talked about, maybe before we hit record, before we went live, is like, this is forcing businesses and all of us to do things that maybe we have always known we should be doing, but we were just like, oh, things are going great. The economy's great. Business is great. We're just going to keep knocking doors and doing, these cobbled together systems that are somehow working. But things like this are forcing us to do those things that, we know that we should be doing. And guys like Jim Johnson talk about all the time. So like, it's 2020. Yeah, you should be on social media. You should be building your brand on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. Those things should be going on anyway. I know door knocking is a huge industry. I've never door knocked in here in New Jersey. It's not really a thing, honestly. Like where I am, it's just door knocking. No one does it. So I know there's a lot of people that are for it. I know there's a whole industry for it. And I know there's a lot of people, contractors, who don't do it at all. And they kind of say, no, we don't do any door knocking. Digital door knocking is what this device is all about. So it's a way for people to call you at their convenience. And, this kind of brings to the surface the idea that, fewer people have landlines and house phones. So telemarketing effectiveness is decreasing. Fewer people want to be bothered, especially now with, being at the door, as Michelle alluded to. So it's a way to serve your industry better and serve your local market better, because you're meeting them where they're at. Like Michelle said, like, they don't want to be bothered. Like, they want to make decisions on their own time. We all, as consumers, like, we want to make our own decisions, and we want to reach out to companies and buy products and services when we're ready, and not when, the contractor's ready. So this is just, I think, forcing our hand at being more service oriented and asking ourselves, like, how we can serve our clients better, serve our local market better.
Absolutely.
So, as I imagined, there would be other folks besides just my marketing folks that might have a little bit of input on this, and some of them that are like these crossbreed weird things that are marketing guys and supplement guys, and they're also podcast guys. John, did you have something you wanted to add to this? I'm going to kind of take you guys in order. I got your messages.
I feel like I would be remiss if contractors didn't utilize Company Cam in this instance. It's just too easy of a tool not to be using in times like this, where you have the opportunity to get just give someone a link and be able to show them the photos and communicate that data right back to them in real time just by sharing a simple Company Cam link. That's my only opinion on this when you're out there talking to them. It's a phenomenal tool, and it'll probably force a lot of people to use it. So check out Company Cam.
Yeah, that's that real time, like, hey, click this link. This is what I'm doing up here right now. And that is a super cool way to, and I was hoping one of you were going to say that. So you guys are all ticking off all my stuff. I might not even have to say that. It's really great. And so Danny Kerr, I think you were next. What's up with yours?
Yeah, two things. One, just thinking through your marketing message, because I think up till now there's been a certain message that we send to people about why we need to work with them or why we need to roof their roof. That message should and can change and be relevant with the times. And I'll tell you right now. So I've got people, one guy outside mowing my lawn, another guy up cleaning my gutters. I called everybody right away. I was like, I need this done now because my spring is happening a little faster than I thought. And I think, people need to realize, like, we don't know where this goes next. And if you have a leaky roof or you're not even sure what's going on up there, it's time to take a look now. And I think if you think about it, what's going on in the economy, well, everyone's preparing, right? There's a preparedness mindset right now. Play into that preparedness mindset. Don't try and swim upstream and ignore it and be like, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong. Talk about it. Bring it up. Be the first one to talk about it and say, and that is why I'm actually here. Like, be relevant to the economy that we're about to go into. Try not to ignore it or avoid it. Would be my big thought.
Yeah, that's really good. Really, really good, Danny. This is a great time to prepare and know that these things are facing us. Pate, bring it on, man. What do you got to say? We're going to try and make this rapid fire as much as possible.
Yeah, I think for sure now is kind of the time to optimize or utilize everything you've done to this point with social. Obviously, if you haven't built up a market inside of your social, now's a great time to start thinking ahead. If you're saying, what can I do? Obviously, video right now is the game. So if you're trying to capture and kind of stay ahead of the people in your market that you're going against, other restoration companies, nothing's better right now than an 80-second or less video to really capture those individuals and set yourself out apart. Secondly, if you're like, hey, I'm a little behind, I haven't, really utilized or built my market yet, start, because now's your opportunity. You should have done that 6 months ago. So if you want to play catch up, now's the time. Consider this your opportunity to leverage video better than you ever have. 2, you can probably get some sick deals on video locally because probably less people are going to be doing video right now. And 2, start building that local network that you can utilize. I've never been more excited because it's like now everybody has to play in my world. It's like
I think I see the comment of the day so far from Eric O. James looked like he just got out of quarantine. And welcome aboard, James McClinney. Good to have you with McClinney Mosley Associates. It's good to have you, man. I'm glad you popped in.
Good to be here. Can you hear me right now? Because I'm
with
live on my phone. Perfect.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm actually on a job site today, so good deal.
We absolutely appreciate you taking time out. And we're going to get to some legal stuff because we're going to want to talk about that a little bit.
Perfect. So can I, off of what Pate just said just a second ago before we move off of that topic, I flew to Springfield, Missouri yesterday, and we did a completely digital site inspection without ever meeting with the insured. We did a 245,000 square foot chilling facility for groceries. And we did all of that through drone infrared. We did the interior through the use of an interior drone, drivable, because it's all -17. And so you can't really be in there long term. And the was very open to it and didn't even attend. And so we presented him this morning with a complete package based off of our inspection of what happened during about 110 mile an hour straight line wind event. So it very acceptable. We walked it through with him and said, hey, look, we understand there's some issues within the marketplace right now. Everybody is very heightened and sensitive to the extent that they feel like they're going to get sick. So we'll facilitate this. We'll fly on our team. We'll do this. You don't have to be there, meaning introducing new people to your social unit. And then we immediately egressed out, got back on a plane and left. And then we provided that for him with no actual person-to-person interaction.
So I got one question there. How did you drive that information to him? Were you using a streaming service like a Zoom, or were you using Skype, or like, is it something that's proprietary?
So we do everything, a DJI drone, and then the same thing on the inside. And then we package that through a proprietary, I guess, compilation that we use, that we've kind of created on our own to provide all of that information, the forensics, the FLIR, the comments. We can go through and I can actually provide commentary to the video. And then we just allow them to uplink that via, issuing a link to that person afterwards. I don't let anybody do anything live because I also don't want somebody else commenting or talking that may be negative to the extent that we look at litigation later. So
you lawyers always covering your butts. Well done. All right. So
and I didn't get off a quarantine site. I love it though.
so Ryan, you had something, and I think this is going to be the most talked about thing. Like, how do we get people to have that engagement with us? Because that's what it's about. Like, that's why we door knock, because they engage like that. We can ask them a question, they feel a need to respond back to that. And if you know that that's what that is, that that's how it happens, that you understand that it's a question that makes me go, maybe I should know an answer to that. You apply that same concept to this digital and virtual world. One of the things I thought about, and Ryan, I'll let you, I'm sorry. One of the things I thought about is like, what if you just had a door on your ad that said knock on me? And so instead of you knocking on their door, they're knocking on your door. When they knock on it, it's a video, right? Like, how cool would that be? Like, we flip the scales completely around. And that's just like one, like me sitting for 5 minutes kind of thinking about it. Now, does that take people? Does that take money? Does that take, creative people that can help you? Somebody just said it earlier. I don't know who it was for sure. I think it was Joseph. Just hired a guy to do video that was doing sports teams. Like, he's screwed right now. So his stuff is really cheap. So let's go get it if we can. All right. Enough of me. Ryan, what's up, man?
You can hear me okay, Jim?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool. I think the biggest thing that your market's afraid of is not knowing if you guys have a contractor knows that they have a process in light of all this coronavirus stuff. Like, can they come and roof my house and me not get infected? And I think, like, as long as our website's updated, everything out, our answering machine, everything that's just written, say, here, we have a process to still service your needs. And I think if somebody sees a contractor and they're looking, they're probably going to search that. And then if they see it, they're going to say, hey, I want to work with that company because they have an assembled process. And I think just a short video, even if it's raw and punchy and scrappy, it just says, here's how we could still help you. I think that's going to help everybody just know. And then communicating that, I think email broadcasts are going to be really important, and just constantly putting it out there, because I can tell you that they're going to move toward feeling like it's, somebody's going to be able to help them because they feel safe. The better you guys can explain, we have a process, we use this, and this, and here's how we can help you. Then you can call into action. Obviously, that's not the sales part, but I think awareness is going to be big. Just let everybody know you have a process and here's what they should expect to do. And I think phone call work, obviously, huge. If you're going to, have that human interaction, you should do, love phone. You should be doing phone, and make sure that you're calling into action to speak to somebody so that you could differentiate yourself, ask questions, and then Zoom when you present. So anyway, I just want to make a comment. People are afraid. Are they capable of doing this the safe way? And if you guys have a process they're confident in, they're gonna call you versus call somebody and they go on their website. There's not going to be anything that gives them comfort.
That's awesome advice, Ryan. Well said. Not only like, do you have a process, but advertise that you do have a process, that they have nothing to worry about, because it's the fear, man. It's the fear. That's all they're worried about. So I'm going to add a little bit to that, like, because I see a bunch of chatter going on about videographers and can I get one and all that other good stuff. There's actually a Facebook group just for this that says I need a videographer. And there's a couple other ones. Like if you just search videographers, and you can like say, hey, I need a videographer in Dallas, Texas, and boom, there they are. Troy. All right. So I'm going to add a couple of things to that, I hope. Don't forget about some of the more traditional things. I know it was mentioned, telemarketing. Yes, it is not what it used to be, but it is still a thing, and we can still get numbers. There are companies out there like Cole Information, COLE Information, that can supply that information to you. And my guys that are knocking doors, especially if I've got canvassers and stuff like that, I can put them behind a phone, and they're not going to have as much of a hit rate, but I'm going to build them one heck of a script. I'm going to have them leave one great message. The message they leave on those voicemails are going to be amazing. And so they're going to feel a need that they need to call us back. The other thing that I would be all about is, like, if I'm developing a strategy, I know that I need interaction, I need engagement. Well, how is the best way to engage today? And I think all of you know the answer to this, but the best way to engage today, I'm going to mute you, James, okay? And just raise your hand if you need me to unmute you. The best way to engage today, we have these devices called phones that we can usually phone, call, text, but I don't know about you guys. I tend to text more than I do anything else. And then Facebook Messenger, like all of this communication just to get you guys together was like, that's how we did it, right? Like that was how we communicated. And so if we know that about the situation, now I know the goal. The goal is I got to get your mobile number, or I got to get your Facebook profile. And so I can build a strategy backwards from that to say, how do I do that the best and most efficient and effective way? And I guarantee you, if you just sit with your buddies at work, your team at work, and you go, okay, how do we get somebody's cell number? You're going to start throwing out the ideas. You're going to come up with all kinds of cool stuff. And then the big thing is, like, it's neat to talk about that stuff. It's neat to take and develop a strategy. But the key to being successful with all this stuff is implementation. I can tell you one thing that's going to be a bit of a worry, and I would sit there being concerned about it, is like, hey, man, I got to do all this digital stuff, and I need somebody to help me. I want to outsource this. And I bet Bill Combs and Joseph's phones and Michelle's phones have been blowing off of the wall. Like, man, I got to convert my entire company to this other thing, and I need your help. Like, we're a little behind the curve right there, because these guys are already pretty good and they're super busy. There is another cool thing, though. We have technology. There's this cool thing. It's called Google. There's another cool thing called YouTube. Like, we can learn this stuff. We're not dumb, all right? It's at all. We can absolutely get this stuff done. Hunter, was there anything you wanted to add there? Because I got one about Facebook groups, but I think you might have something to add there.
Yeah, man, I got a lot. I'll try to count as much as I can. But let's take it all the way back to like foundational stuff when you're building a company. In terms of like leadership, I think it's really important as the leadership team. I'm sure there's a lot of owners listening in, some sales guys too. But as an owner, it's your job to set the stage for your sales guys and say, hey, this is how we're going to handle it. We're going to take it head on, and this is what we're going to do. Ryan kind of hit on that, having a process and just making sure that they know that they're going to be okay throughout the process, and they're going to be able to make money. And there's a lot of ways you could do that. I know at the beginning, I think it was maybe you, Jim, talking about people aren't answering the doors, and maybe we get to that point. We haven't experienced that yet. I mean, get text all morning long on Facebook that our guys are still out there selling. Now we may get to the point where it's irresponsible to send your guys out there. For me personally, I haven't felt that yet. Maybe somebody will end up convincing me of that, but I have not felt that yet. And we're doing fine with it. But having that strategy, and certainly as Bill and Joseph and all these people can tell you, Michelle, the digital part of it's huge. And that's the side I came from, and that's why I know it's huge. But we've still been fine knocking doors. We're running ads. I think one big thing is mining your old customers. I think Joe and Ryan talked about that, going through your old customers. People love transparency. If you've got a few thousand people on your Facebook page and you hop on there, you do a live video, you record a video, you post it, you write some good copy, and you say, hey guys, we've got 28 employees here and we still got to have work coming in. they still got to feed their babies, right? So if you know someone that needs one of our services, whether it's roof and solar, side and gutters, windows, maybe you need something, we're happy to come out and tell them your process of you never have to interact with us. And it should be to that point now. And if you're not to that point, this is that wake up call of, hey, get your stuff together so that they can do a DocuSign. You don't have to be in the house signing paper contract, because I know plenty of guys, I work with plenty of guys that still have to do that. But there's no reason, just like Company Cam, you're talking about Company Cam, you can send a link and see the progress of that file as it's built. You can go out there, you're not going to give coronavirus to the roof and then be common on the roof. I doubt they're going to get on the roof. So you should be fine with that. Using Facebook groups in your local area. I think Bill mentioned in the comments, I have a Facebook group with 82,000 members in it. So we'll use that group to continue to grow. And again, just be transparent with people. I think that's really important.
Yeah. So Hunter, that was kind of the one, like, and you can do this a couple different ways. You could, like, if you have a big market, Houston, like this Houston happenings Facebook group, and you get all these people in there, and you're not marketing to them all the time. You're actually doing the happenings, and you're posting the cool stuff, and you're slipping it in there, like, hey, do you guys have a contractor? And they're like, no, and everybody starts sharing this information, and they're engaged in that group because it's a valuable and engaging group. And so that's some of the ways, like, it would have been nice to have it going, but this is that wake up call, like I said, to get it going. The other thing I want to reiterate from Hunter there is this aspect of you guys that are sitting there as owners that have any fear or any worry right now. I'm going to be really harsh on you. Suck it up, Buttercup. You're the example. You're the person that has to step up and have a plan. You're the person that's leading this thing. And if you don't get your act together and you don't get out in front of this and you don't engage your team to get through this, you're looking for problems. You just are. And so we're here to help you with that. We're here to remind you of that. And hopefully that kind of was a little bit of a, like, bing, 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 yeah, let's get going. A couple other things. One, and these are just thoughts that just popped into my mind, like, hey, if it was me, this happens to be one of those things that for whatever reason, I'm fairly weird and creative, and I'll try anything. I'll throw a bunch of ideas out to see what sticks. Delivering a notice that's like a Post-it note notice, but you actually have like a surgical glove on, so you don't like touch it or anything, and sticking it to people's doors, not even knocking, like just sticking it to their door and say, hey, this is super important. Follow this link, or check out this Facebook group, or whatever, clicking on something to start engaging with you, because I can still be moving throughout the neighborhood, still make people aware that our trucks are moving around. We're not moving. Your social media ads, like I said, need to be creative. You need to handhold them too. Like, once you engage them, they may be into a world of technology they don't know, and even you don't know just yet all that well. So you're going to need to hand walk them through the process, like they're, hey, yeah, maybe I will have you come out and do an inspection. Great. You need to click this link right now. Let me see you click that link. Okay, you clicked it. I see you set the calendar appointment. I want to confirm that you got my email. That's a confirmation. Yeah, you got it. Okay, cool. And you're back and forth, keeping them engaged in this loop, that you're there to hold their hand and walk them through this process. Because the goal through all of that we just talked about is to gain the inspection. Like, that's what you're selling. You're selling this idea that you need to have somebody look at their roof. Don't sell a roof unless they're engaging you to say, I got a leak. And then that's a whole different ball of wax. But you still want to get that inspection first, because then you have the opportunity to prove how much of an expert, how professional you are, and how you set yourself up with this process to protect them. I think that's going to be a huge point.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Some thoughts here. Even though I'm not a marketing guru, I'm more from the
no more from Jake. We're done. No, just kidding.
Number one is it is important to be empathetic, right? Most of us are not all that worried about it. Most of us are not going to be affected by it. And Danny and I have had the opportunity to talk over the last couple of weeks as this has grown too. And to some level, like, we got some great memes out of this. It's good times, but we need to be empathetic of our customers and their concerns. We really have to realize that some people are very worried about this. And so a good way to make them not happy with you is to blow it off and make them feel like you're mocking their concerns The second part is I just popped online screwing around, and there's a couple of websites where you can build a PDF sign for free. And so I just made one screwing around that said, hey, no soliciting here. XYZ company has our roof under contract, and give that as a freebie to that customer. Like, hey, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to help you out. Here's a sign to put on your door that keep everybody else away. So you don't have a line of 500 people after the storm knocking on your door. There's some opportunities to give some value to the community. And then also, the other thing that popped in my head is and I don't have an answer for this, but is there a way to help, right? Above and beyond selling something, can you do, is there a community thing that you can do? Is there some opportunity for you to donate to, people giving food out to seniors in a safe way? I don't know how you do that, but I think that might be a really good way to inject the name of your company into the community and still help and stay relevant in front of people.
Awesome. Cool. So I know this is kind of weird, like in the middle of this, but I just got a text because I'm in contact with people that they know it's a thing for me right now. Trump declared a national emergency and just had the leaders of the following companies address the nation: Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Quest, LabPro, Target, etc. Very powerful message. Stock market is up just shy of 2,000 points. So good news, right? Like good news. Let's not go crazy here. That's a good thing. All right. Still, that doesn't mean like stop preparing and go get our crap done. Like it's still going to be a bit of a thing. All right. I want to talk a little bit about liability right now. And the reason for that is we just gained an inspection. We're about to engage with this person and we're sending people out. We're sending like our employees out. We might have 1099 subcontractors that are going out to these properties. And as a responsible business owner, you should prepare for risk and protect yourself. And so at this point, the attorneys that we have on here, this isn't probably their specialty. And remember, this is not about any kind of legal expertise. It's just advice. But what should they be going to look to an attorney to do to keep themselves out of risk of working with a homeowner out there in public?
I'm happy to sort of start us off here. There's only so much you can do. We should just be realistic. If you're sending somebody out to a job site on behalf of your company, you are vicariously liable for that person. And so if they are carrying the virus and they go and infect people, that's your problem. And that's why the better advice is to work remotely, to work virtually, to do the social distancing if you can. So there's sort of an irreducible risk involved in running an enterprise, and that's why you have professional liability insurance. So if you haven't already, get professional liability insurance. And I would ask your broker right now to send you a copy of the policy. Now we're usually talking about homeowners and their insurance, but now you need to take a look at your business's insurance. Read your policy, make sure that there's no exclusion for viruses or what have you. But that's there as a backstop. You don't want to have to make a claim on your policy if you can. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure here. So I would just start off by saying that there's an irreducible risk of vicarious liability that you might not be able to contractually avoid without coming across like a vampire. So
I'm going to have to go back to the recording on that one. Irreducible risk of vicarious liability. Wow, that sounded very attorney. So we maybe should pay attention. James, you got anything on this that you want to add to that? Like these guys, like advice you would give them to go pursue with their attorneys or their insurance companies of like, hey, should I sign something with my guys to say, hey, you're going out under your own choice. I'm not making you go out. That kind of stuff. Is there anything that they should even consider there? You're on. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I muted you, so let me unmute you. All right, there you go.
Well, fresh out of the quarantine, I'll start like this. I mean, I think I agree with John to the extent that if you're on notice, there may be a liability issue that you face in the future. As far as viruses, things that are airborne and stuff like that, I think there's a limited amount that you can actually control it. And so if your job is oriented around an individual being in the field and interaction person to person versus virtual, I think the inevitable is either that person may catch it or the individual that they're interacting with, that may be the property owner, may already have it. I don't know how I feel to the extent that you would be liable if they got the virus, but I do think it may be just a matter of, let's say, be prudent and talk with your general counsel to the extent that he may think you have some liability. But also I think E&O is good for anyone, just in the event that it does happen and somebody tries to make an issue out of it. But I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I've been all over the world, and when I was in the military, we would get shots every time we would go in a country. I remember the first time I went into Africa, they gave us 16 shots in the arm. And that doesn't really mean that it's going to solve anything, right? It doesn't mean that that person is going to be immune or not capable of contracting whatever it is that maybe they come into contact with. So, to the extent that you can protect yourself, I said, I would say do that. Do I feel that you would be liable to the extent that your salesperson's interactions with someone else? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I feel like it's an airborne virus that you don't really have any control over. So, and the latency aspect of how long it could stay on surfaces and things like that poses problems, because how do you actually say that it was me that gave it to somebody? So I don't know.
So we had a question here. What's E&O? I didn't even hear somebody say that, but did somebody say that? E&O?
I think John just answered it. It's errors and omissions or professional liability insurance.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like as an attorney, we hold malpractice insurance, but also E&O as an umbrella. Same thing.
In other words, I'm not listening to you guys, you're attorneys. That's why I have you guys. I just have you do that stuff for me. No, I'm just kidding. Great advice, and it's super important that, man, I'll be honest. I was a contractor for a long time. I didn't take the legal side of it as serious as I should, and I paid the price for it, and learned the hard way. Having a good attorney, in the big scheme of things, they're not all that expensive considering what could happen. And so get a good attorney, get their advice. They will give you more advice than you need. And they're probably almost over strict because they're like, dude, that's my butt on the line on this too. And so, but go get a good one that knows the business, one that knows the industry. Awesome. What about on-site? Like I've got guys working, and is there anything there that like somebody put on there, have them working in hazmat suits? I think it was Chris. Like, were we serious about that? Like, do we go that far? Or like, I don't think any homeowner is going to jump up on their roof. I don't think we're going to touch their doorknobs. We're not going to like cough and leave a bag of cough while we're there. And so I think we're probably pretty safe as long as there's not interaction. But anybody have any thought process on that?
Well, without offering medical advice, I think the standard advice that we're getting from World Health Organization, from all the doctors, and what I just saw, actually Texas courts issued guidance. If somebody is coughing, they need to stay home. If they're coughing and sneezing or having flu-like symptoms, they need to stay home to avoid infecting anyone else. They should not be going up to the jobs because they could infect your whole crew, and then it's spreading through your office. They shouldn't come into the office. And that's going to be an issue for leaders. Are they going to do paid sick leave, even if you don't have to? Are you going to make those accommodations for your team? They should have nitrile gloves if they're going to be interacting with or handing things off to other people. Try and have those gloves. They should carry hand sanitizer. Bath and Body Works has these little portable hand sanitizers that, you don't really take them seriously because they're scented, but at the same time, that could save lives because the sanitizer that you use is the sanitizer that helps you. And a 5-gallon container of sanitizer in your closet isn't going to actually help you when you need it. But there's nothing like good old-fashioned soap and water. So you've got to make sure that your office has got soap and water in stock. And I was in a restaurant earlier and it was out, and I was just furious. Go in with Lysol and spray all the commonly touched surfaces. So door handles, desk surfaces, your phones, your reception, and everything. Wipe your cell phones down. They're a huge vector of disease every few hours. And when I was just at a conference, I saw a lot of you guys there. Every couple hours, I'd go out and scrub my hands down, wipe my phone down, just dicing it in sanitizer. So follow those best practices. It's not a joke. Tell all of your team to do it too. There's only so much we can do to manage the risk. Right now, wearing masks is not even recommended for healthy people because that it's not a very effective way to limit the spread. It's really just about avoiding touching your, with dirty hands, touching your face, your eyes, any mucous membrane. So those are the precautions that we should take, and that's going to eliminate probably 90% of the risk for healthy people. But that's about as far as you can go.
Awesome. And now everybody sees why I really reached out to John. John has put an inordinate amount of time and sent off warning signals at least a month ago, and I believe longer than that ago, that, hey, this thing is going to be a thing, and be aware of it. And so I wanted to make sure he was a part of this. And we also, I just want to mention, Ryan Groth had to leave. He had something else going. So I just want to say thanks to him for being a part of this. He is a pillar of our community, and if you don't know him, you should get to know him. James, did you have something you need to say?
No, I was looking at my watch. I'm
Okay,
going to have to step out here in about 10 minutes when this gentleman gets back. So I agree with what John had to say. And
just so everybody knows, like, you guys that are here attending, we still have over 100 people on here paying attention. It's an hour down the road. I'm going to stay on here as long as I've got enough panelists to make this valuable and worthy, and as long as there's participants with questions. And if you need to ask a question, please use the chat tool there on the Zoom meeting, or put them in the Facebook Live chat area there where you make comments. My team is on both of those things, and they will hopefully draw my attention to something. It's a little fast paced right now with what we're trying to get covered and talked about. So that kind of takes care of a couple of those areas that I wanted to hit. So now I got an inspection, right? Like, ho-ho. Good deal. Like, I got an inspection. I've set expectations. They know that we're not going to come and give them a big hug or shake their hand or touch them or any of that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to go perform this inspection. Chris, I think I'm going to lean here on you. You guys have a tool that does this stuff, and I don't want you pitching or selling your tool. But what I do want you to do is I'd like you to share a little bit about, like, what we should be thinking about with these tools. Like, how would we present this in a way that might be something that they go, wow, that's professional. Yes, this can actually happen and get done, and I understand it. So go ahead.
Yeah, certainly. And I'll try to get off my iRoofing soapbox a little bit.
I'll shut you down. I'll mute you like right away.
I know. But yeah, and from one perspective, it is exactly what actually I've been doing for my contractors. So when someone's interested in my product, I literally connect to Zoom, and I literally sell a roofer a roof over Zoom as if he was the as if he was the homeowner right there on the spot. So what do I do when I'm doing that to make that a successful experience for the contractor? I'm building trust the entire time, so for the roofing salesman, I'm saying, if you're going to connect through Zoom or a web service or something like that, show your face, show your office, present like a king, allow, those integrations of Zoom on your iPad and all the tools that are in our industry, whether it's, iRoofing's endless catalogs or GAF's local website, connected to there, show all those products, give your company presentation and pitch book right on there. You were saying before, this is an opportunity to step outside of our comfort zone. I 100% agree. I think some of our presentations in this industry could really use a boost, and now we can start utilizing technology because we have a concrete reason of why. You can literally measure the roof with the homeowner on the other line, and they can see you doing it digitally if you want to. That also builds trust. It's a nice wow factor too. You can do it beforehand.
Chris, your technology there is you're having some bandwidth issues. You were kind of breaking up there. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is I had to step away from the office because I'm a little bit distant just because there's a lot of noise going on in there.
Okay.
But you could present everything through the visualizer, show homeowners what products look like on their home before you without even going out there. So I think you can create something very engaging without having to even be on site. I think this is something that homeowners looking in, queuing in through a web environment, that's even more convenient than having to leave work or schedule something. It's something that can be done right on the fly in 10 minutes, really. So I think this is a way for contractors in the long run to become more efficient and not rely on every single meeting. It has to be face-to-face. We literally do tens of thousands of these over the course of the 8 years that we've been doing these online presentations. So I think, it also helps you because you can connect, you show that extra care also that, hey, me as a contractor, me as owning a company, maybe I want to protect my employees. I want to protect my customers. And so this is something that we can easily do remotely. And in fact, we encourage it. So doing all these actions, it's not something new, but I think now there's a push that we can actually go in this direction successfully. And I think that homeowners and roofers are going to appreciate it.
Yeah, I think our technology has been headed in this direction for quite some time. We just haven't taken that leap to go, okay, let's get after it. This might be that opportunity to do so, to see if can you actually pull it off. I'm gonna put some things behind that though. You're gonna have to have excellent scripts. You're gonna have to practice those scripts. You're going to have to teach people how to sell in a way that they haven't had to sell before. Earning trust like this is completely different than earning trust when I'm out there in the field, but this helps. I can see you. And that would be a key aspect of it, is it's got to be visual sight, allowing you to read people's body language, see their behavior, know whether they're engaged with you or not. Like if you're sitting there and they're just got the black screen of death while you're talking to them, they're over there looking at their phone and they're on Facebook and all kinds of other stuff. They're like, oh, let me just get through this guy's spiel and click, thank you. Yeah, I'll think about it, right? So you've got to have that face-to-face. And so for you to have that, you have to set that as an expectation. I have to do this with my customers. Like, hey, we're going to get to work with you guys. So these are the things you're going to have. You're going to have a webcam. You're going to have access to pretty solid internet. You're going to have to turn on that video whenever we interact. And how do you what's the best way for you to communicate? Do you want to do that through FaceTime? Do you prefer Skype? Are you a Zoom person? Do you like Facebook video messenger? Like they have that tool. Android has Duo. I actually use that. I'm an Android guy. Sorry about that. I use it. I know most of you don't. But there's all kinds of ways that if you don't know what those ways are, you probably need to go investigate them and think about it. Like there's a form that goes out. They fill out something. They download your PDF. Hey, are you interested in the process of how you might be able to get a contractor? Boom, they download it. You're like, hey, awesome, saw your download. One of the steps of our process is finding the right way to communicate with you so that you can get through this process well. What's the best choice for you? And wow, what a next step, right? Like move it forward. It doesn't take long to kind of put this whole thing together. It does take some work, does take some effort. But now we don't have that choice to go, yeah, I will or I won't. It's like, all right, we got to do it. So that would be a piece I would add to this. Go ahead, Chris.
It's pretty cool for the owners of a roofing company too, because how often have they got to sit in on their salesperson's sales presentations? Let's check out that process. Let's actually investigate what's going on there. We might find ways that we can improve what we're doing currently presentation wise.
So, Chris, that one's, and Danny, I'm going to pop right to you because I think you want to say something too. That's super cool because we actually do this in our coaching. Inspect what you expect, right? Train these people, practice with them, and then go out and watch them and coach them more. And that part is always the part where all gets dropped. And so now, hey, I got you in the house. Let's go, right? I got you in the house. Hey, let's see you do it, buddy. Have a party. I'm going to be right over your shoulder. And nobody can even see me, which is even better. Hey, why don't you record that, by the way? I'll watch it later. And so you have this ability to make everybody better. And if you make everybody better, they reach their potential, earn their income they need, feed their babies, I think, as Hunter said earlier. Like, that's super important. Danny, rock it out, man.
Couple things. Zoom stock price just went up 30% today.
I guess what? I have a whole bunch of
You might want to think about that. Other big thing. So you can record Zoom calls, right? And so we have all of our sales reps basically record them and repository them in Dropbox, and then we can watch them later. So I don't want to be on with them. I want to give them the freedom to do their thing and feel less threatened by me. And you get a pretty natural recording of what they're actually doing, which is really helpful. Zoom. So we've gone from in-person sales to Zoom, obviously, as we've expanded across North America. our sales ratio did drop, so it dropped to about 5% on average, but our efficiency, because we didn't have as many in-between times to drive between meetings, went up. So we could do one more meeting a day and had a 5% drop. So we could do more meetings, slightly lower closing ratio, so just something to consider. And yeah, I mean, you guys all have it. You just downloaded it to come into this this meeting, which is great. So something to consider. And I mean, we haven't done screen share for those who haven't seen Zoom before, but you can do a screen share. It's really simple. And once you get the hang of it, you can do way more meetings. There's no travel time in between, meetings.
It's literally click 2 buttons. Click the button that says share and then which screen you want to share, and boom, you're there. And it's super easy to do.
One more thing.
Go ahead, Dave.
Video, some of you do this, some of you maybe don't, but sending out that video in an email prior to that sales meeting is obviously really important. It gets the sales guys kind of face in front of the customer ahead of time, and just make that the instructional video about how to go through this meeting and what the expectations are. And that'll be relevant for the customer to actually watch. So instead of it being just something that's selling them more, it's just very much instructional. This is what we're going to do in this meeting. This is how you download all this stuff, and it'll start to introduce them to that salesperson. And you can make those videos real quick on Zoom.
So I'm gonna pop a couple of things here because there's a bunch happening right now. I'm gonna say, hey, these are the things you need to consider that you got to take from the face-to-face world or hard copy world to maybe the virtual world, and there's an answer for every one of them, and even some tools that do all of them. And my buddy Shai sent me a whole list over there, iRoofing, and I thought it was a really good list. So I'm gonna read it off right now. Your company presentation, it can be digital. Take some work and time and effort, but make it digital. It's not as hard as you might think, and companies like iRoofing help with that. So do we. I think Danny might. And I don't know. Do you guys do that, Danny? Help them build those presentations, or you send them?
We have it. Yeah, we have a pre-built out, I would say, version, but we have them all customize it because everyone's obviously different. So
cool, perfect. Roof measurement, which that's been virtual and digital for quite some time now. Catalogs, and whether you're on an iRoofing or you're on GAF's website or whatever it is that you use, and Hover, I think, like there's all kinds of people that have these access to that catalog. A visualizer, and I really like that one, the one where you have the house and you can put whatever you want on it. Like you got to be able to show, hey, this is what that's going to look like, and I can get that picture of the house right off of Google if I want to. I don't even have to go to the house. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about this. You have to be able to build an estimate virtually and be able to share it and actually discuss it as well, propose. And so we got to be able to pitch and give our presentation. I would add demo as well, like talking about the different products and what benefit they may have and how you might be able to show that. Normally you would have a homeowner very involved in that, like handing them stuff and giving them things, especially in the retail world. But I would convert that to like, hey, check this out. Whoa, and I put it like right up to the camera and say, do you see the difference between those two things? Hey, do you see how much, here's a scale right here, like a scale, and this is how much this shingle weighs, and this is how much that shingle weighs. Which one do you think works better for you? And it's just being creative, thinking about how do I replicate what I do in the house to something on video. The other thing I wanted to mention was this setting those expectations from the get-go that this is how this is going to go. Not only do you have to do that with your customer, you have to do that with your salespeople. You have to sit down with those guys and you have to say, hey, look, this is a thing that we're going to have to take on. And are you up for the challenge? You got to be that encourager. You got to create champions, as we always talk about. Like we can't be defeated by this thing. What are we? We're hot dog. We're America. Right. So it's just no offense there, Danny, but that's kind of the attitude down here. It's a thing, man. It's just kind of who we are. So I want to move forward because we're an hour plus into this at this point. So a couple of things on-site inspections. You can live stream to the client. We've already mentioned several tools. You can FaceTime it. You can Zoom it. You can Facebook Live it. As long as you have an internet connection, you can do a lot. And I went, hey, what about this Facebook Live thing? Could I do Facebook Live, get approval? Like, hey, Mrs. Jones, is it okay for me to do this Facebook Live? I'd like to feed my babies, as Hunter said. And they go, yeah, it's cool. Go ahead. And you Facebook Live each one of your inspections. Is that a marketing tool? Sure sounds like one, right? Like, could I do that? And thinking outside the box a little bit on how do I take the two things I'm doing and make them a really cool thing. Yeah, and
hey,
do
Jim.
it just once. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Just to add to that, post Facebook Live, one of the really cool things you can do is build out ads up against that. So we've worked with a couple companies. One of them was perfect for this. It was a 5-star ER based out of Central Texas. So we did a Facebook Live Wisdom Wednesday or Wellness Wednesday. So we did rattlesnake bites, a whole bunch of different topics, right? And
Only in
those would go
Texas.
for about 8 to 10 minutes. But you're not going to get 100 people on that Facebook Live at 11:30 a.m. So the cool thing is, after the Facebook Live's done, you go into Facebook Ads Manager, you are able to run ads up against that. So we do a Facebook Live, we may get 10 people involved in it, have some Q&A on it, push that out to the community afterwards, and all of a sudden, boom, we've got 25,000 people that have been pushed that Facebook Live. Now all of a sudden we're getting additional viewership, and we're adding to custom audiences and so on and so forth. So just, there are so many different tools, and you know, I know that Joseph, you probably have seen this as well, that you know, the Facebook ads platform, it's great, but it also is so comprehensive that you don't even know what you can do at some point. So we've been able to implement a lot of these different techniques, and I think if you had the right Facebook Live with the right person, that might be a way to show the community. I mean, what if you did the mayor's roof, right? And all of a sudden, boom, now you've got the mayor on a Facebook Live to the whole rest of the community. Everyone's going to want to engage with that. You get a whole bunch of people liking that post. Now you're inviting them off of the post to like your page. Now you're building and building and building. And again, a lot of it just has to do with the amount of time you have to manage these things, but a bunch of really, really good opportunities out there using these digital platforms.
Yeah. So Ephraim asked a really, I think, important question. And Danny, I think you brought this up before we got started. And I know it's kind of in the middle of things, but I noticed people are popping off right now. They just got things to do. Let's talk about the finance side of it. I think it's a bit scary. I think it's a thing like we coach that you should be setting aside, you know, a 6-month reserve that if you didn't sell another job, you could pay every bill over the next 6 months. And I would bet that about 1% of my clients take that piece of advice. And so now that we're here, what can we do? And I saw, John, you shared a really cool link from the Small Business Administration, I believe it was. I think everybody should copy that link, go put it into their deal, and investigate into that. But Danny, why don't you handle some of this?
So every presentation I do, I almost ask the crowd, how many of you have a budget for 2020? And there's like 2 hands out of like 100 or 50, whatever, that go up. And so I would say one of the best things you can do right now is build a budget. And that seems maybe daunting, but really what it is it's an Excel file where you write in the revenue that you project to do for this year, the variable expenses, so what it costs you for labor, subs, and material to produce these jobs, and what's your targeted gross profit margin, so whatever that would be, 30 to 50%. A lot of us are in the 40 kind of range. And then from there, all the overhead that you've committed to for the year, right? Your overhead salaries, your overhead technologies you use, your overhead, office, your vehicle, your fuel, all that stuff, and start to get a view of what this year could or should look like if you go out and hit that revenue line. Once you've done that, go start to look at different scenarios. Say, what does it look like when we lose 30% of our revenue? The variable expenses will move down, right? Because you'll spend less on labor, subs, and materials, but the overhead will stay the same, right? Unless you do something about it. And you need to know what are your pull shoot points, where you understand what overhead do we need in these situations and whatever overhead do we not need in these situations. What is it that's going to help us drive forward in an economy like this, and what ones are not. And it's very important that you understand the difference between, blind risk and educated risk. Just not looking at it is not going to help you. Understanding the difference between where you're at and where you need to be will help you make a lot of educated decisions. You might realize you're actually not that bad off. If you do this, this, and this, we'll be fine. But if you never look at it, you're just going to sit there and worry about it the whole time. And I will say this is probably going to lead to some form of economic recession. We don't know 100% yet, but it's looking like the signs are pointing towards that. Here's the facts. Recessions happen every 5 to 10 years, so get used to it. If you expect to actually be an entrepreneur and in business for the long term, this is your chance to actually work out that muscle that you haven't worked out before. or maybe some of you have, but it's time to put some strength back into that arm, right? Giddy up, because it's going to happen. It's okay. It's a part of life, and any business that has true lifespan goes through these things every 5 to 10 years and knows how to navigate them. Now's your chance to learn.
Yeah, man. I'd like to hit on that real quick, Jim, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, Hunter. Do your thing, man.
I
I was just going to give an
telling-
amen. But that was
No, I love that, man. That pumps me up, Danny. I literally was just talking privately to Troy before he dipped out of here on that exactly. That look, man, I'm young. I'm a young entrepreneur. You know, I just came into it full time 5 years ago. I worked at the fire department. I was in the Marine Corps. So it sounds a little crazy, and obviously, I'm not wishing anything bad to happen on any businesses. But like for me, I've been waiting for this time. I've heard so many old timers talk about '08, and for me, it's like, all right, I know it's going to come. And this is my chance to see if I'm as good as I think I am. And as the leader of the company, going back to what I said earlier, like you got to embrace this. Like you're going to get paid for the problems you solve. So this is a big old problem. If you can fix it and you can set yourself apart from your competition, you're going to be paid accordingly.
Yeah, boy, if you can fix this one, you got a lot to be confident about, don't you? That's super awesome. And we can. That's the thing. Like we all can. We're not dummies, all right? And it's just – I did an interview with John the other day. It was pretty cool. I don't want to spoil it or anything, but I think it's the biggest failing of us as contractors in most cases is we get our blinders on and we like, hey, we do this way, and we don't think. We're not creative. We don't start. And my best advice is if everybody is doing it one way, you better do it a different way because you're going to sound like noise, and just like the rest of the noise out there. And you need to stand out like this vibrant note that's beautiful that I want to listen to. All right, so. Let's move on a little bit because we gotta take care of Joseph Hughes says zig when they zag. Yeah, exactly, right? Professional tools. And so this is being prepared for what you're gonna do. Detailed reports, like when you go out and do your inspection, don't just shoot a bunch of pictures, put them on company cam and say, check that out. I would have a really cool inspection, something that is detailed, something that if I am a C-type personality that likes to have detail, I can go look at that on my own time while you're preparing your stuff to have this conversation with me. People want professionalism. People want verification. We talked about the digital presence. Somebody have a question?
Yep, over here.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
In Idaho, the last stronghold that has not yet been overcome. Listen, I talk a lot about systems and processes when I go out, and ultimately using a tool like a CRM that's online, and I don't necessarily have to pitch any particular one because all of them out there are kind of going that direction, is super important. And having a system and a process in there shouldn't change. Like if you had to send everybody home from the office, which is a very real thing that's going on. Like all of Seattle, they don't have school until the end of like April right now. It's crazy, and you know, churches out, all sorts of stuff. The gatherings are being shut down. So if you have a system and a process, it shouldn't matter where you are. You should be able to get into that and do the same thing over and over, right? We're building success by building a system and a process. Track it in something that's digital that everybody can access, and no Excel spreadsheet is not a good solution for that. You need that accountability, but what we're looking to do is you don't have to flip your company upside down if you're prepared. And I posted about this a little early on Facebook, and I use the thing every once in a while. Noah didn't build the ark after it started raining. Right. So if you are struggling currently in your company going, holy crud, what am I going to do? You know, maybe this is a good 2-week break for you to take and sit down and start to look at some of the solutions out there where you can put your systems and your processes so that everybody's on the same page. You know, how hard is it to have a meeting like this where everybody's in and you're going through that system and process that everybody can access because remotely it's web-based? That kind of stuff is super, super important. And you don't have to upset the apple cart. And instead of driving to work, you're just going to leave from your house. It doesn't have to interrupt your life and become this life-altering, horrible experience unless you have to take your 9-year-old son with you somewhere and they're sitting in the truck. You know, then get them video games, right?
Or if you have a yapping dog like my wife. Go ahead, Joseph. I see your hand up.
Yeah, Jake, you mentioned taking a couple weeks off and just kind of dialing on your processes. I was listening to a podcast episode with Gary Keller, who from Keller Williams Realty, author of The One Thing, excellent book. And he said, going back to 1989, things were kind of crazy, and there was a lot going on with business, and the real estate industry was changing. So he took a year off of working in the business, and he documented everything in the business, every single process of the business for an entire year, and basically built out their franchise operating documents. And he said that was a catalyst for them growing into one of the biggest, depending on the year, real estate brokerages in the country, if not North America. So that was pretty cool to hear that he took a year off to document his processes. I don't know if that's realistic for most of us, but a 2 weeks should be, or a week or so, spending time to work on the business. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you can take, whether it's a day, it's a week, it's 2 weeks, it's a month. Like what would happen if you just literally, like, say you had the money, get everybody paid, that you could go for 30 days and you could nail this thing down and get it refined and get it perfect, jumpstart and go, instead of like sitting there and going, I just can't get all this done because I'm too busy, and not being able to do anything. And 6 months from now, you're struggling. It's called making significant decisions, and it is important to your business. Somebody have something to add there?
I was going to say, in 2008, I worked probably the hardest I've ever worked in my entire life. But a lot of the DNA of the stuff that we had built, tracking files, Excel sheets, things that actually helped us know our sales and our production and our financials. For those who know Breakthrough Academy, we give away this thing all the time called an MVP file, a master business planning file. We built that in 2008, the first iteration of it anyways. And it showed us everything about our business. I sat down for the first time ever and learned Excel from like knowing nothing, and built this thing that allowed me to control and track my business. I think a lot of us sit there and who have to do stuff. I agree with you, Jim. Like, sit down, get it figured out now, and you will have way more control mechanisms in the future.
Yeah, and even some of us sitting here, we could probably apply some of this advice to ourselves. We feel like we're constantly on got to get ahead of things, and sometimes we need to take a step back, calm down, get some processes in place, get some procedures in place, and be ready. I'm going to flip the switch to on the other side. Like, don't be so reliant on technology. What if happens? There was I tell you right now, we did a strategy conference back in December, and we do this exercise called strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I guarantee you there was not one contractor that put a virus coming into our world and stopping business as one of their threats. So okay, what else could threaten us? How about electromagnetic pulse that shuts down the internet? Okay, so what would that be like? Thinking about those things is super important. Jake's like, oh crap, I don't want that to happen. That would be the worst thing possible. And it'd be really tough, but I should be able to still operate. I think that was a key thing that Jake says, like, I should be able to operate under any circumstance if I have good, solid processes. All right. Want to make sure I stay on track here. So we talked about closing, being able to use presentations, digital contracts, a lot of tools. Jake, job memos, digital contracts in there, or do you guys advise DocuSign? What do we do?
Yeah. So we've got two different ways of doing it. Internally, we've got some digital contracts inside, and then we also, of course, we integrate with digital, a fully paperless office solution.
Okay, cool. Good. And Chris, I know you guys do digital signing on yours, and you don't have to have either one of those to do it. You can just go get on DocuSign. It's like one of those things. It's the most well-known, probably easiest user interface. Like, it's also expensive, but it is a way to get it done, and it can be included in your pricing. You think about it, all this money that you're thinking, oh man, I got to spend this. You're saving a bunch of it just in the running around and time that you might do. You become much more efficient. I think Danny said they will drop 5% in their closing ratio, but they've gained so much in efficiency, it was either break even or better.
Jim,
yeah.
If you ever have one contractual dispute where a person says that they didn't sign and you have to contest that, it pays for DocuSign for like, I don't know, 50,000 DocuSigns.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, DocuSign for A, the efficiency, but B, because you can be like, oh, really? I mean, did they log into your email? Did they do it from your house? This is interesting that it came from this IP address. Is this not your IP address? I mean, it's the efficiency, but also the safety of, hey, you guys did do this.
Yeah, it's I couldn't agree. I mean, like nail on the head. Sometimes you go, God, that thing's expensive, but if you think about what the ramifications are, if you didn't have it, it's much more expensive. All right, so I want to talk about a few options, right? Like we've been talking very heavily on these interactions that are still happening on the job site. Like we're going there, we're doing the inspection and we're performing that kind of stuff. We might even be sitting in our truck and sharing something inside the home to somebody, but getting completely virtual. There are drone inspection tools that are out there that can do a fair job. I won't say they're as good as the human eye. I never will. The human eye is a human eye, and it puts a much different context to it. But it is a way. It is a way for you to be able to do a inspection without necessarily being on site, being totally off site for this particular project. Your aerial measurements, of course, and a screen display via tablet using things like Zoom and stuff like that, and just sharing that screen are some of those options where you can go absolutely virtual. Production. So now we sold the job. Like they said, yes, signed off, and we got a job. And you're about to send 7, 8, 9 guys out to my house that I don't know. And what does that look like? And so once again, we're going to have to be very clear on explaining how that works, how the interaction is going to work so that they're not engaging. And Nathan caught it earlier when I said, we're not going to leave a bag of cough there, right? So we should be okay. But we need to explain that and be clear about it because they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. And if you don't share it with them that this is the way that we're going to operate, there's doubt. When you have doubt, you have fear. Confirmation calls, making sure we make those confirmation calls, whether that's a text confirmation, a actual pick up a phone call, an email that has an autoresponder to it to let you know that people actually opened it, making those confirmation things happen and setting that situation where could you actually sell this more? Because in the end, when you get done, we go through a final wipe down of anything that we've touched on your property with hand sanitizer and some kind of bleach. Like, could you use it as a bit of sizzle for your process that you sell out there that nobody else does? I mean, we had 115 was the max attendees that was in this. A lot of them are probably waiting for the video and stuff like that. We got a whole bunch of people on Facebook over there. But let's say we got 500 of you that watch this. There's 75,000 contractors out there. I think you got an advantage just hanging out today and getting your thinking caps on and probably putting a few of these things together. Your final checklist. So we get done with production. We got to get a sign off and say, hey, we did a great job. If you're not doing those, you should. You're more likely to get paid if you do. But we could do that virtually. We could do that on site. We can do that through a tool that allows us to do those types of things, whether it's a tablet, a phone, whatever it may be. But it's a document. It's a digital checkoff. Like I checked, and all these things are done correctly. Here's pictures of it as I do it. Mrs. Jones, do you agree we did a great job? Yeah, please sign here. You're much more likely to get paid, and you're much more likely to be looked at as professional. We like to call it a visual perfection inspection. And so trying to give you guys some ideas on how to lock these things down and create an experience. Because if you create a great experience for just 2 or 3 of these people, it's going to go viral. I think Joseph placed it earlier. This thing will go dude, these guys know how to do this stuff in the coronavirus. That's amazing. If you need something done, go get these guys. And we're going to want some of that. So let's get to some of the stuff that's super important. Melanie brought this up earlier. I've seen a couple of other questions about it. We've got fear about finances. And even us as business people, I'm sure we're all thinking about it and what do we do about it and how do we handle it? We've talked about having a reserve set aside and some of that kind of stuff, but these homeowners that we're dealing with, may or may not have stuff like that. And there's some numbers out there, like 80% of America has zero savings. They're like living paycheck to paycheck. And so this has to be very scary for them financially. What does that part of the process look like for them? Can we offer some type of financing? I believe there's a gentleman on here today. I forgot, Chris Schofield. I did not forget your name. They offer some options like that, and he's been posting that out there. Get out there and go look, go watch, get on Facebook, ask questions. You will find ways to get through anything. I strongly believe there is always a way to climb that wall, go around it, dig underneath it, bust through it, whatever you got to do. And so here's some things. The deductible, if you guys are storm restoration guys, could be an issue. There's a cool new thing that's out there. It just came out this year called, I believe it's called, what is it? Cover my deductible, finance my deductible.
Fund my deductible, FMD.
Fund my deductible. Yep, I had it written down earlier. Oh, there it is, right there. Fund my deductible. And maybe that's a way a homeowner goes, I might go with you over everybody else, right? Pate put on here, sizzle everything. Absolutely, brother. You got to sell the sizzle, and not fake sizzle. Like you actually get to smell it and taste it too. Is the real deal. You're going to deliver on that sizzle, and you actually get to eat it, right? That customer is going to get the enjoyable experience of that great sizzle. Rev 19 is also one of those tools that's out there that does this, helps fund my deductible type situation. Sell as retail. You know, if you feel like the insurance companies are really going to be a problem, sell as retail. We can do that. We are contractors. Well, most of us are. A lot of us have not become contractors any longer. And we've kind of gotten into this world, if you're in the storm restoration world, that you rely on this thing. You've stopped being salespeople. You stop understanding costs. You stop doing all that stuff. And it's all about what the insurance company is going to settle on and pay me whenever I'm done. But we're contractors. We can sell these jobs and we can say, this is how much it costs. I'll help you get whatever you can get from your insurance company, but we build a great roof. That over there, the one you have on right now, that's a builder grade roof. They put the cheapest possible thing they can put on your roof so that they can sell it for the most margin. My roof is a pro grade roof. That's a different roof. It's got a lot of sizzle to it, right? And so I'm going to charge this. Your insurance company's going to pay for that crappy roof, and you're going to pay the difference in between, but I got an option for you. Finance the whole thing. Now we just gave you some money that you're going to weather this storm through, right? And so now you've put this spin on this thing that these guys are going to have this ability to get through this by interacting with you. You have a plan. You have an answer. So seriously consider those things. It is going to be massively important to the success of you as a business and your customer as your client, because we should be responsible to them. I don't like financing anything if I don't have to, and I won't. But in a situation like this, if I was in the shoes where I didn't have a lot of money and there was a way for me to finance it for now and get a cash lump sum so I can weather this storm, man, I would seriously consider it, as long as it didn't put me in a worse situation down the road. Finish like a rock star, man. When you get done with this whole deal with these people, keep using that technology, keep using that communication. Be very grateful and thankful that you had the opportunity to work with them. Show them the options for giving you reviews. Give them links. Give them buttons to click. Make it as easy as you possibly can for them to do that thing. Don't say, go give me a Google review. It's the worst possible thing you can do, because nobody's going to do it. Everybody that asks me for a Google review or sends me even like they'll send me a hey, fill out this survey, right? I don't ever fill those things out. But if you say, click this button, I've written this thing for you, and if you believe that this is how your project went, could you copy and paste that in there and just click review? If you make it easy for people, people will do it. And you show them how to do it, and you walk them by the hand to do it. All right, so that kind of gets us through like dealing with this sales process. There's other things I want to talk about, but I think we are an hour and a half into this. The guys are left on here. There's 54 of you. We'll stay if you want us to stay. I will, at least. But we have some other topics that I think they're going to be something that needs to be talked about. Recruiting and hiring. Like, how do we do this maybe in this new weird world? And is that going to be different? Who was it that was on here that had something to share about that? Are they still on as a, okay, Danny, yeah, please share this one because I think it's important. I want to get to this one today.
Well, First thing, up until now, finding good people has been one of the biggest challenges in the industry. That might change. That just might change, right? So survival of the fittest, I think over the next 6 to 12 months, and the companies that are able to stay in business and support their people will have the pick of the litter. How do you attract really good people? One of the best strategies we've found is through Facebook. We get our staff to do our marketing for us though. So we draw up an ideal client or candidate, profile of who we're looking for. We use that profile so we understand like what that candidate would want, need, like fear, think about, like we think about what that candidate's all about. We usually interview our top people actually and get their language out of them. And then we post an ad that speaks to that, right? So the example I always use is my project manager years ago, who's like, he's an athlete, right? So he's just like, I love that you're my coach, not my boss. I love that you give me freedom and autonomy to make strategy. I love that I get paid for the goals that I hit. He's like, I'm an athlete. Like I operate that way. So I changed my ad from looking for a project manager to run our teams, drive company truck, manage crews, to looking for a quarterback to take our P&A team home. Looking for a coach over a boss. Wish you had autonomy to drive your own systems and make your money, accordingly. Boy, do we have a job for you. And I spoke to the internal athlete and the right kind of guy. I then had to put that up on our website, and I'd get our team to direct Facebook message 100 to 200 people each. Okay, so I would basically have them say something like this: hey, so-and-so, or company XYZ is looking for a person in XYZ role. Curious if you know anybody who'd be a good fit. Please see link below. P.S. We're offering a $500 hiring bonus or whatever it is. If you do know anybody, be happy to share that with you. That will go viral. It does every single time. We have 25 staff right now. We still do it. We have 2,500 messages that go out, roughly about 100 per person. And every single time, that's where we get our hires. Out of 25 staff we have right now, 2 of them came externally. Everybody else came from that networking tool. And we just keep doing it. The bigger our team gets, the easier that becomes. And now the fact that we'll see what the next 6 months bring, but I think there will be really good people open on the marketplace. I think you should look at instituting strategies like this to get the word out and let them know, hey, we've got a position for you, and get the best of the best on your team. We in 2008, we went, what did we do? I was running a painting business at the time. We did about 1.3. We dripped down to 1.25, and then I got all these people on board, and we went up to 1.7 the next year. Those people ended up managing all of Canada for the painting company I was with, College Pro Painters, after that, because they were like absolute rock stars. And I picked them out of downed economy when everyone else was scared. So,
Danny, that is badass. That was good, man. That was solid. It is I feel that is a bit of your secret sauce stuff that you normally would share with your people, and that was huge of you to share that out there. That's big. Well done. Chris, you have your hand up?
Yeah. So millennials, attracting them, young blood into our industry, something that has been great difficulty. And I see this as an easy way to get young blood into our industry. They don't want to go up on roofs. They don't want to do the dirty jobs, but what they do want to do is play with iPads, play with Zoom, do online meetings. We can easily get a lot of fresh people into our industry if we market to them correctly and say, oh, no, you don't need to get up on a roof. Here's an app. You do everything right from here. You can sell the job, make those big commissions, and you could run it right off from the comfort of our office or maybe even your home.
That's I'm sitting here going, like, this is a thing. When you get a group of people together like this and you start sharing ideas, you start building off of them, right? Like the creative juices start flowing. I'm sure the people that are out there listening to this are like, boom, boom, boom. These ideas are popping for them. I'm sitting here like, dude, make roofing sales into a video game. Like, how many people could I get? Like, if I could turn it into that. So what is a video game? It's like, hey, I'm trying to accomplish this thing, this role-playing deal, and I got to get this thing and pick up that piece of treasure and get this badge. And like, if you apply those type of thoughts and processes to it, like, and put this into a technical and virtual world, like, wow, we just created a thing that we didn't have before that's been making it very tough for us to. That's why I'm like, dude, this is not a challenge. This is an opportunity. I'm super excited about it, really, to be honest with you. Even more excited now. Like my juices are flowing. I've been writing over here. If you haven't noticed, I'm taking tons of notes. Like, hey, man, this is cool. And that's a good idea. It's our responsibility as leaders in this to do this type of stuff, to build our industry. Together we are better. And you think about who watches this. people that watch this are people that are trying to make their business better, to deliver better, to try and make the experience better for their customer. That's who we want to compete against. And so it's okay to share. And it really is. We shouldn't have this mindset of hold on to our stuff and it's all about survival of the fittest. Because I'll tell you what, if we got down to it and it was just you that was left, you're not going to get all the work because nobody has the money. That's what would happen. Yeah, Braden handled that question that was on there. Last one I'll talk about, we'll finish it up for today. Remote workspaces. As you can tell, we're all meeting together today. We're all in our different, I'm in my office. There is nobody in here. Got everything sprayed down with Lysol. And it looks like everybody here is working remotely. Jake Dempsey mentioned it earlier that your process should be able to be completed from anywhere. Don't be scared to encourage that. This isn't like crazy lethal or any of that kind of stuff. It's worse than what we've had in the past, but it's not something to get scared of and run away from. Hey, I'm supposed to fly on Monday to Chicago.
Jim,
I'm flying.
I think, Jim, you said earlier this week when we were together, it's just a stop and think moment. And really, I don't think anybody in the general population has stopped to actually think about what's actually happening around them. Everyone's just reacting. And the whole panic thing is so out of proportion at this point. I'm not at all freaking out. I'm just worried that I'm going to get stuck somewhere because of all the precautions that are being taken. And I got to fly out of Salt Lake City, where just happens to be where all these basketball players have gotten the coronavirus. So,
well, think about why those precautions have been taken. The reason the precautions have been taken is because our medical system, if we don't take those precautions, this thing will spread faster than our medical system can handle. And so they're taking those precautions to keep it minimized as much as possible because they know it's going to happen. But if we can slow it down, we'll be able to get through this without too much of a change, hopefully, to the way we do things. We are going to have to be innovative. We are going to have to be creative, but we can get through it. Danny.
So a really weird phenomenon I've been watching the last couple of weeks is how we are all living in very different realities right beside each other. Like I can be sitting next to somebody who thinks the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are coming and the other person who just thinks this is a flu and why is everyone freaking out? And everything in between, right? And it's important, we're used to as humans to grabbing into our opinion and being like, we are right in our opinion. It's important to realize we actually have no fucking clue what's going on. And that's totally okay. But we need to be careful to be like, I am right. No, I am right. And it's like, what? We actually don't know. And that's okay. We don't always need to know everything. What we do know is people are varying vastly in their opinion. And ultimately what I'm observing is I'm like, I'll give an example. In psychology, they'll talk about, a kid walking by a barking black lab. 2 kids. One kid runs away, the other kid goes and pets him. Why? One kid got bit when he was a kid, the other kid had a puppy as a black lab and learned to love a black lab. It's perception. The same event happened, but 2 people saw the same thing on 2 different virtual realities based on their past experiences. That's how we're using our minds to associate with what's happening today. The reality is either of those may not be true. We don't know which kid's reality was true or not. Who knows what the dog was like? But what we do know is we're using our past experience to make our own intuition about what's next. That's fine. That's natural human behavior. We have to be careful not to judge and be mad or upset with other people because they're different than us. There's going to be that in a time like this when there's a lot of uncertainty.
You know what? I think that was so amazingly good, Danny, that I think that is a great note to close this out on. It is a thing where we need to come together and not drive wedges. This is one thing about catastrophes. I've gone through more than my fair share. I've been in Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Ike, the 4 hurricanes that hit Florida, multiple tornado situations, floods, Hurricane Harvey in Houston. And the one thing that's been awesome about and you can go all the way back to 9/11, all those situations, when it really got down to brass tacks, we quit worrying about your opinion or my opinion, your race or my race, your religion or my religion, your political beliefs or my political beliefs. We banded together. I think Hunter posted something about this earlier this week or maybe last week. We banded together, pulled up our bootstraps, and we helped each other. And that was what I was hoping for today, is that we helped a few people. Hopefully we helped a whole bunch of people. and you feel a little bit more at ease. You feel like, hey, I've got some things I can work off of here, and I can take care of my people, I can take care of my business, and I can take care of our customer. Thank you, panelists that are left. Man, I know that was long. It's been an hour and 45 minutes. I don't think I've ever been on one quite that long before, but I think it was important. I hope everybody that attended, if you want to just close us out here, and if you've got any kind of comments on what you thought about this, was it helpful? I'd like to see some of that in the comment thread from those of you that are still here as attendees. Was this helpful to you as a business? And I might do a couple more of these. I think it was good. And I think there's more to dig into there. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I am honored to be in your circle. You guys are great.
Jim.
I really appreciate it.
Jim, thanks for putting this on. That's great.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. I learned a lot and took lots of notes, and definitely an opportunity.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, guys. Hey, man, we're so, I don't know. We're so honored, like, just to be a part of all this. It's a cool thing. The Catalyst Group, a lot of the people that are here are members of that. But there's a lot of guys that stepped up and gals that stepped up today that aren't. And that's just super cool to all work together.
Cool.
All right, guys, get out there.
Take
got
care,
a lot
guys.
to work on. If you got questions, feel free to continue to put posts and comments and stuff like that to us. We're out of here. See ya.
Sounds good. Take care.